Have you ever felt trapped, like the weight of the world is pressing down on you, whispering that you are not enough? Have you ever looked around and thought, why me? Why this? Why now? Maybe you've been told that your dreams are too big, your past is too broken, or your challenges are too overwhelming. Maybe the voices in your head keep reminding you of every mistake, every failure, every reason why you should give up. But what if those voices are wrong? What if the walls around you, the limits people set for you, the fears that haunt you, the doubts that whisper in the night are not meant to confine you but to refine you? What if they are there not to stop you but to strengthen you? You see, life has a way of testing those who dare to dream. It will throw obstacles in your path, not to destroy you, but to reveal the warrior within you. The problem is, many people stop at the first sign of struggle. They look at the walls around them and assume they are permanent. They believe the lies that say, this is where your story ends. But let me tell you something. Your story is far from over. The only thing greater than your obstacles is your faith. Not the kind of faith that just sits and waits, but the kind of faith that fights, that believes, that refuses to back down even when the odds are impossible. Faith that doesn't need to see the finish line to take the first step. Faith that moves forward even when the world says you can't. Because the truth is, you can. Maybe you've been rejected. Maybe people have counted you out, underestimated you, walked away from you. Maybe you've tried and failed more times than you can count. But failure is not final. Rejection is not a conclusion. Delay is not denial. Some of the greatest victories in history came from people who refused to stop believing. People who faced walls higher than anyone thought possible. But instead of running away, they ran toward them. They refused to let fear define them. They refused to let doubt control them. I know what it's like to feel like the walls are closing in. I know what it's like to feel like nothing will ever change. Faith is what gives you the strength to wake up every morning even when life is hard. It's what keeps you moving when everything inside you wants to stop. It's what allows you to see beyond the present pain and into the promise that lies ahead. Maybe right now you feel stuck. Maybe you're looking at your life and thinking, I don't see a way out. But hear me when I say this. Just because you can't see a way doesn't mean there isn't one. Some of the biggest breakthroughs happen right after you feel like giving up. Some of the greatest moments in life come when you refuse to let the walls define your future. You were never meant to live in a prison of fear, doubt, or regret. You were created for something greater. The walls in front of you are not there to stop you. They are there to test your faith. So don't shrink back. Don't settle. Don't let life tell you who you are. Let your faith speak louder than your fear. Because the walls don't define you, your faith does. Have you ever felt like you were born with invisible chains holding you back? Maybe they weren't placed on you by choice, but by circumstances, by past experiences, or even by the words of others. The world has a way of putting limitations on people, telling them what they can and cannot do, where they belong, and how far they are allowed to go. From the moment we step into this world, labels are placed on us. Maybe you've been told you're not smart enough, not talented enough, not strong enough, or that you'll never succeed because of your background, your past, or your situation. These words become walls, tall, unshakable, and impossible to climb. And over time, we start believing them. But what if I told you that these walls only have power if you accept them as real? History is filled with people who refuse to be defined by their limitations. You see, limitations are not real, they are perceptions. The only thing that truly limits you is your belief that you are limited. Think about a baby elephant tied to a small rope. When it's young, it tries to break free, but the rope holds it back. Over time, it stops trying. Even when it grows into a powerful animal that could snap the rope in an instant, it never does. Because it believes it's still trapped. The same thing happens to us. We stop trying because we assume the walls around us are too strong. But here's the truth. You were not created to live in a cage built by fear, doubt, or the opinions of others. The moment you decide to break free from the limitations placed on you is the moment your life changes forever. So ask yourself, are you ready to break the chains? Because the only thing standing between you and the life you were meant to live is the decision to step beyond the walls. Have you ever felt like no matter how hard you try, something is always holding you back? Maybe it's your past mistakes, the expectations of others, or the quiet voice in your head that says, you're not good enough? These barriers feel real, they feel unbreakable. But what if they are nothing more than illusions? Too often, we accept the walls around us as permanent. We convince ourselves that we are trapped by our circumstances, by the words people have spoken over us, by the failures we've experienced. But the truth is, most of the limitations we face are not real. They are simply beliefs we have accepted as truth. The most powerful prison is not the one built around you, but the one built inside your mind. If you believe you can't, you won't. If you believe you're not worthy, you will settle for less than what you were created for. History is filled with stories of people who were told they would never make it, that they weren't smart enough, strong enough, or talented enough. But instead of accepting those words as their reality, they chose to believe in something greater. They refused to let the walls define them. And that choice changed everything. So let me ask you, are you ready to stop believing in the limits others have placed on you? Are you ready to break through the illusion of limitations? Because once you do, you'll realize that you were never trapped. You were just waiting for the moment to step forward in faith. Walking by faith, not by sight. Life will always give you reasons to be afraid. It will show you the obstacles, the hardships, the failures, and the impossibilities. But faith says something different. Faith says, move forward even when you don't see the way. Faith is not about having all the answers. It's not about waiting for the perfect moment. Faith is about believing in something greater than your current circumstances. It's about trusting that even when the road ahead is unclear, there is a purpose, a plan, and a promise waiting on the other side. When you walk by faith, you no longer live according to fear. You no longer let your past define your future. You no longer listen to the voices that say, you can't. Instead, you listen to the one voice that says, with faith, all things are possible. Some of the biggest breakthroughs happen when people refuse to let what they see define what they believe. When David faced Goliath, he didn't see an undefeatable giant, he saw a victory waiting to happen. When Moses stood before the Red Sea, he didn't see an impossible situation, he saw a path about to be made. And when you face your own walls, you have a choice. Will you see the obstacle, or will you see the opportunity for faith to rise? Faith doesn't mean the journey will be easy. It doesn't mean there won't be moments of doubt, struggle, or hardship. But faith means that no matter what comes your way, you will not be shaken because you are not walking alone. So step forward, take that leap. Trust that even when you don't see the whole picture, the one who holds your future does. The walls around you were never meant to stop you. They were meant to show you the power of faith. Fear and faith are constantly at war in our lives. Every dream, every goal, and every purpose-driven journey faces resistance. Not from the world alone, but from within ourselves. Fear whispers in the quiet moments. What if you fail? What if you're not enough? What if you fall and never rise again? It is the voice that magnifies your insecurities, replays past mistakes, and convinces you that stepping forward is too risky. But faith speaks another language. Faith doesn't ignore fear, it overcomes it. Faith acknowledges that challenges exist, but refuses to be controlled by them. It is the decision to move forward despite uncertainty, trusting that even when the road is unclear, something greater is leading the way. The power of fear. Fear is one of the most powerful emotions a person can experience. It is wired into our survival instincts, designed to protect us from danger. However, fear can also become a prison. It can keep you stuck in comfort zones that were never meant to be permanent. It can convince you to trade your destiny for safety, your calling for convenience, and your purpose for predictability. Fear often disguises itself as logic. It tells you you're being realistic. It whispers you're not ready yet. But when you dig deeper, you realize that fear is not protecting you, it is preventing you. The greatest regrets in life often come not from the risks we took, but from the ones we were too afraid to take. Faith, the antidote to fear. Faith does not mean you will never feel fear again. It means you refuse to let fear dictate your choices. It is choosing to step forward even when your knees are shaking, because you believe that what lies ahead is greater than what you leave behind. Think of the people who have changed history. They didn't wait for perfect conditions. They didn't wait until they had all the answers. They moved forward in faith, believing that their purpose was bigger than their fear. David didn't wait for Goliath to shrink, he faced him head on. Moses didn't wait for the Red Sea to part before stepping forward. He trusted that a way would be made. And when you face your own battles, you must decide, will I let fear hold me back, or will I let faith push me forward? Your choice, fear or faith. Every day you stand at a crossroads, fear or faith. One keeps you where you are, the other leads you to where you are meant to be. The walls in your life will not move until you decide to trust. The breakthrough will not come until you take that first step. Fear will always try to paralyze you, but faith will always propel you forward. Choose wisely. Your destiny depends on it. No one who ever achieved greatness did so without facing setbacks. Every successful person has experienced moments of doubt, rejection, and failure. The difference between those who rise and those who stay stuck is one thing: the willingness to let go and move forward. These are just voices of limitation trying to keep you bound to a version of yourself that no longer exists. The past has no power over you unless you choose to carry it into your future. Think of a person carrying a heavy backpack filled with regrets, mistakes, and pain. The longer they carry it, the more exhausted they become. But what would happen if they simply let it go? The weight would disappear and they could finally move freely. The same applies to your life. You cannot step into your future while dragging the chains of your past. Your past experiences, no matter how painful, have shaped you. They have taught you lessons, made you stronger, and prepared you for the journey ahead. Instead of seeing your scars as reminders of pain, see them as evidence of survival. Every mistake you've made has given you wisdom. Every failure has prepared you for something greater. Instead of running from your past, embrace it as part of your story. A story that is still being written. Forgiving yourself is one of the hardest things to do, but it's necessary. You cannot move into the future if you are constantly punishing yourself for what has already happened. The past cannot be changed, but the future is still in your hands. Will you allow what happened yesterday to define your tomorrow? Or will you decide that today is the moment you break free? Your past does not define you. Your choice is today. Let go, step forward, and walk boldly into the future you are meant to live.